Legend has it, a foolish young mage once meddled with powers he didn't understand, attempted to summon an ancient demon under his command. He tried everything to rectify his mistake. 7 whole days the battle would take. Eventually, the young mage fell, for what he had summoned was the Lord of Hell. The battle took place many decades ago, but many olden people claim the truth is so, that when dogs start barking at nothing in the night, and children lay paralyzed in bed, full of fright, the poor villagers would be the first to learn. The angry Fire Lord from Hell has returned.
Greetings, people. My name is Snaptix. If you enjoyed this intro, please let me know because it took me ages to make. I swear to God, the fucking intro, man. I'm not kidding. Even just the text-to-speech thing. The dude, his name is Brian or whatever. It's like an AI, but the voice of the guy is like Brian or something like that. I don't know, but it took forever to make, and it just the pictures, the editing. I mean, if you look at my first ever video and then take a look at the intro for this video, you wouldn't even think that it was made by the same guy. I mean, to be honest, I've come pretty far in my editing skills as well, just in the span of these couple weeks. Even just stuff like the poem in the beginning, I wrote that personally, and stuff like the whole video idea and the story about this Fire Lord type of thing. I mean, the Fire Lord might return in the future for a second montage. We'll see, because it was definitely very fun to make. Besides that, obviously, I know I've been MIA for quite a while. I have been so busy the last couple days. Not only just editing this took, as I said, forever, but I've been super busy with IRL stuff as well. So I'm sorry for not uploading as much content as I would love to. Obviously, that has been on hold for a little bit, but I'm planning on starting to upload a little bit more frequently now. Obviously, not all my videos are going to be this edited. Some of it is going to be pushed out a little bit faster, so you don't have to wait like 6 days between every video. Also, something completely different. I started uploading variety content as well. Obviously, those are the ones with the brown thumbnails for now, where I'm playing Nordic Ashes. If you're interested in getting to know me better personally, you should watch those videos because those are completely unscripted. They're filmed live as I'm playing. They are quite long, I know, I'm aware. But I do talk a lot about myself, so if you want to get to know me better, what I'm like, stuff like that, or just listen to my weird stories or rants, you should go check those videos out. But that aside, let's take a look at the actual build, because after watching that whole thing, I'm assuming some of you people might want to, start playing this, obviously, because it looks fun, right? So the main build is a Scorch build. I mean, you can run a Pyroblast build, but I will get into that. So the spells you'll be using are Scorch and Fireblast, and then Imp, of course. And the rotation for this build is Scorch, Scorch, Scorch into a Fireblast, and that's literally it. Yep, that's the rotation. And it's not unrealistic to expect to get about 70% crit with this build, I would say. Around there. That is very realistic, in fact, actually. I have a little recorded clip of me being level 21, so I will play that right now. In case you thought I was clickbaiting the thumbnail, I want to show you how much crit I actually have at level 20. Well, I'm 21, but you get the idea. This is without rings. This is without shoulders or a neck. You can get way better gear than what I have right now. In the cloak, even the cloak is trash, and I have gray gloves, okay? So keep this in mind. My gear sucks, okay? Even my bracers are gray. So you can get this way better. So let's count it up, right? 22% crit chance. Then I get 5% from Imp. I get 5% from Demonic Mind, whatever. I get 6% fire crit, like extra fire crit from critical mass that I have in my REs. So that's the baseline, right? 33% crit. Let's do our talents here. 33% crit. Then my Scorch, which is my main spell, right? Has a 3% increased crit chance. So that's 36. Then it applies a debuff thing on the target that makes me 5% more likely to crit. So that's 41%. Then if we go down here, we have Incineration. That's 9% on Scorch. And that's it for here. So that's 50. We end up at 50. Then I have another 6% right here on Scorch. So that's 56. And then I have another 6% right here. So that's 62. So yes, you can reach over 60% crit at level 20-ish. And that's even with, as I said, shit gear. So it's definitely doable. So now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at some of the things that I picked on my cards. So for skill cards, I'm starting with Scorched Earth, Demonic Mind, and that's about it, I would say. You could pick whatever you want here. Usually, I would not recommend going Power Word Fortitude or Blessing of Wisdom, either one. Instead, I would take Flame Tongue, because it is just way too much damage, but I will get into all the different variants and all the different things you can mix and match and change out and whatever. But Flame Tongue should obviously be in the build. It is just too fucking strong with the spell power you get, especially if you're wearing two weapons. So if you're using a dagger with spell power as your main hand, and then having like an orb or something, a book in your offhand, very, very strong. Then you get the effect twice. And if you do decide to go with Flame Tongue, which you should, then you can start running, what's it called? It's not that one. Elemental Weapons. Run 3 of this. That's 60% extra spell power from Flame Tongue weapon. And you can run the same thing in here, Elemental Weapons. Other than that, your main spell or your starter spells are Fireball, Fire Blast. So these are the ones that you roll on the cube. Yeah. Fireball, Fire Blast, Arcane Intellect is a must. You need the damage. And then for the last spell, I believe I run Imp. And the reason why I run Imp comes right now. I have Master Demonologist. This talent, let's see if you don't know it, gives me 5% increased fire damage and 5% increased crit critical effect chance just for having an imp out. Obviously, this changes depending on what demon you have summoned. But since we're running imp, we get crit and fire, which works perfect into this build. Then I'm running burnout. Obviously, well, it's not obvious, but don't actually pick burnout. It sucked. I ran it with this prestige. It was actually pretty bad. Instead, you should run firepower. Let's see here. Firepower. Is it not 2 words maybe? Here we go. Firepower. Which just increases your fire damage. You can run this, or if you want even more crit because you're a madman, you can run critical mass. That's another 6%. I mean, then you'll reach like 68% crit or something. Absolutely insane. But yeah, don't run burnout. It sucked. Another must is flame on. Flame on here. It kind of sucks that I can't just mouse over them here and show you, but whatever. Flame on. So whenever you cast Scorch, Fireball, or Flame Strike, and in our case it's going to be Scorch, you will increase the critical strike chance of Fire Blast or Meteor. So this works really well for AoE as well if you're running a Meteor by 15%. So that's a total of 45% because it stacks 3 times. So 45% extra crit on Fire Blast. And you will boost the damage of Fire Blast by 35%. And that stacks up to 3 times as well. For a total of like 105% increased damage. I think, is it a little? Yeah, it's a little bit less in PvP, but it's still very strong. And this is what makes Fire Blast hit really hard. It's just permanently like 100% crit, and yeah, it's just insane. Does more damage. Then I'm running Improved Scorch. We talked about this, or I did when I was level 21. You know, 9% extra crit. I think it is, isn't it? 9%? Or what was it? 3%? Yeah, it's might be 3% instead. 3% increased crit, and then the 5%, obviously. Ignite. I was planning on changing Ignite. You can run Ignite. It is you know, decently strong, I would say. It works pretty well. The only sad part is it doesn't look as good on the clips, right? Because Ignite is a little it's like a little take damage dot type thing, right? And you don't get those big one shots. So instead of Ignite, you can run something else. This is again where you can take in critical mass or anything that's gonna increase your spell power or stuff like that. Even something like, can you maybe run this? What's it called? What am I thinking about here? The one that allows you to gain a certain amount of yeah, either lunar guidance, mental strength even. I mean, yeah, for more crit and intellect. Or the one I'm thinking about, this one, right? Increases your spell damage by an amount equal to 15% of your summoned demon's intellect. Also your you know, your arcane intellect should automatically get applied to your pet whenever you use it on yourself. So your pet will have more intellect, which in turns gives you more intellect. So, you know, super strong. You can also run the, as we talked about, elemental weapons for an increase again to your spell power. So that's a total of 60%, and then if you run it in Mystic Enchants, it gets doubled, of course, because you can have 3 in here. So that's a total of 120% increase to the spell power you gain. So that is really strong as well. And then we're running Incineration, which we also talked about in the other clip, 9% extra crit. So those are the cards that I'm running. For the different variants of the build, this is more early, low-level focused. You can run a different version with Pyroblast, and I will talk about that right now. So for Pyroblast, you want to run Hot Hands, which makes it so Pyroblast can now trigger Hot Streak. You want to obviously try to roll Pyroblast here on one of your skills, and that's when you take out another one of these, so Power with Fortitude or Blessing of Wisdom. You know, obviously you would run Flame Tongue, and then you would run Pyroblast here. If you do decide to go with this build, Hot Hands, obviously, we talked about it. It's not going to do as much damage to creatures, but that's whatever. If you're raiding, this might be kind of a big deal. I don't know. It does like 40% increased damage usually, but then it gets tuned down to 30%. this is really strong because then you can Scorch, Pyroblast, Scorch, Pyroblast, Scorch, Pyroblast, because your Pyroblast is also going to crit once it hits the target. So that is crazy strong. You will run out of mana though if you don't have any mana regen, which is the whole reason why I took a Blessing of Wisdom. Other than that, you can run Fired Up, which increases your crit even more. Well, not directly, but you will get more crits. You can run, there are other things that increases Pyroblast. Obviously, you would need to take a Hot Streak as well. So you can get those instant Pyroblasts, that's the whole point. You would cart that in here, probably instead of Ignite or something like that. And then you just, or you could just YOLO and hope to roll Ignite on the cards. Or you can YOLO a lot of the spells here. Like, there's a lot of room for improvement if you want to make like a raiding build. You can reroll a lot of things. Weldon Flames, again, more crit on your Pyroblast, stuff like that. So anything that scales your Pyroblast, basically. For Pyroblast, I would recommend running, instead of Pyroblast, actually I have it here, Fuego, I think it's called. I don't know how to pronounce it. But it scales with Pyroblast modifiers, and I believe this does more damage than Pyroblast. Let's see, rank 7, 1224. Let's see here. Okay, I can't see that because it's not ranked up. But I do believe it should do more damage. Also, it has a little tick effect at the end, so this might be really good with Ignite as well. I think is a Flame Bringer. Nope. Go to talents here. Obviously, as I said, don't go burnout. The other reason why you don't go burnout is, I mean, the effect is nice and all. The only issue is it requires the last rank of Ignite for the last effect, which is the good one. And I don't have that here, so that made it even worse. And there's a lot of talents like this one that increases your spell critical damage. So that's why we don't run burnout, because the chance of hitting it while leveling is kind of big. Just any of the ones, to be honest. Some other things you can run, as I said, Firepower. Harbinger Flame also should work really well with the Pyroblast version, because then you have Ignite, Harbinger, and the Fuego dot. So that might be really strong. You can also run Moon Conform. I'm running, as you can see, Demonic Mind. It gives 5% increased crit, and a Moon Conform is 3% increased. So you get less crit, but you do get more armor. And you also get a chance to regain some mana and stuff. So it's personal preference. If you want more crit to look good in the clips, like I did, for example, you can take Demonic Mind. It's also decent for PvP because you get a heal reduction. So if you're fighting healers and stuff, they heal themselves for less. Really strong. Obviously, Moon Conform's also okay for PvP. You can't heal in Moon Conform. It will take you out. This one just reduces your healing, but you straight cannot heal in Moon Conform. You will leave your shapeshift. It does increase your armor, so if you're going against a lot of physical, so execute and stuff like that. But I don't think that's too common because, again, most of the builds are scaling some sort of hybrid. So either Fel Infused Weapon, which does Shadow Flame damage, or, you'll run into a lot of Paladins with one with the light and stuff like that. So a lot of it is spell damage, and if you know anything about the game, is that armor does not decrease damage from spell schools, basically. Armor is only for physical damage. Some things that are worth mentioning that you don't need but are a very nice roll is anything that increases your crit. So Thundering Strikes, I believe Rogues has one called Malice. There's one called Conviction, stuff like that. All of those should give up to 5% each, 5% crit each. So that's a total of, I don't know, 15. I think there's a fourth one maybe. So like 20% more crit as well. So you could roll those if you want to really min-max a late game build. And just keep re-rolling once you hit 60 for maybe a raid build or something. Just to reach those 100% crit. That would be very nice. Also, if you're in a raid group, chances are someone else will have rolled it. But otherwise, you can roll Elemental Oath. It increases the crit chance by, I think it's 3% for the entire raid. So that's really strong. Ember Storm, that's 5% increased fire damage, so that's also pretty strong. Anything that increases the effect of your buffs, also really strong. So Arcane Intellect, stuff like that. I happen to roll Mind Mastery. That's another 9% increased spell damage, and that's also really strong. Anything that's gonna increase your damage, because you know it scales double, because you will crit so much. So anything that's gonna increase the damage is almost gonna be, you know, double the increase, because you're always gonna crit. Dream State, I rolled this, really nice for mana. Also gives me some more crit. I rolled Hot Streak, but I wasn't really using Pyroblast for this version of the build. Other than that, if you happen to roll it, it's very nice. Any CC, I rolled both Death Coil and 2 Interrupts and a Dismantle and stuff like that. I think I had a run where I rolled Psychic Scream, so anything that's gonna fear. But yeah, and this leads me to the pros and cons of the build. Pros are you will be able to kite pretty much everything, because your entire rotation is castable while moving. Scorched Earth is basically Scorch, but you can move while casting it. And Fire Blast is instant, so your entire rotation is instant. Even if you're running the Pyroblast version, you should get Hot Streak procs that, you know, makes your Pyroblast instant. So, you know, this build is completely mobile. You will have a lot of burst damage, and you will have a lot of big hits as well. You will be very weak into fire resistance auras and fire resistant totems, and everything that relates even remotely to fire resistance. It will completely shut down your build. I mean, chances are you won't run into it, but if you do, you're kind of fucked, because you're only in, you know, speccing into fire school. So if you run into that, that's kind of bad. Otherwise, it's pretty strong, really, really strong in the 20 to 30 level range. And I believe 40 to 50, I think it is. Maybe even a little bit in the 30s. But that's definitely where the build shines. It falls off a little bit from 50 to 60 again. But yeah, that's about it. Those are the pros. Also, you get most of your skill cards early on. You can see 10, 20, 15, 15, 10, 10. So your build comes online very fast. Even this, like Demonic Mind, 5% extra crit at level 10, super strong. And you get your main spell at level 22. Which is why we took Fireball as our starting spell, just so we had something to cast. For the cons, the build is very weak into melee. If you have a melee on you, I mean, you can kite them. If you roll anything like a root, so Frost Nova, Entangling Roots, anything like that, that is literally a godsend, because melees just do way too much damage. And, you know, the flaws of the build, especially into melee, gets increasingly worse, especially if you don't have Moonkin form. If you're running Demonic Mind because you're greedy and you want the crit, like me, then you're going to struggle a lot into melee. At least with the Moonkin form, you do have some extra armor protection against physical damage and such. Also, we don't have any heals rolled, so it's kind of annoying to have to sit here and click rest or eat or drink in the middle of a BG, but it is what it is. If you roll a heal, very nice, lucky you. There are also some variations of the build that are running Sunfire. I won't get too much into that, but there is a talent with Sunfire that increases your critical strike chance on the target as well. And also, Sunfire is probably going to be featured in my video about abilities with a broken scaling. Because Sunfire just is extremely strong. Also, it has a chance to crit as well when you're rolling it in wildcard, which, you know, Loon is wildcard mode. So it's just crazy strong. I've personally seen Sunfire, just a dude applying it take over 60% of a teammate's health just from the tick. The teammate was like running away, he wasn't in range of anything, and he was like slowly just dying in the background from one dot. It's absolutely stupid. Anyways, that is all I had for you guys today. If you have any questions about the build, about some talents, about maybe even how to play it, or if you don't have all the talent cards and whatnot, what to substitute, even what version is correct for you, anything about, you know, the build related to that, even just anything related to the channel as well, or any feedback, just leave it in the comments. I will most likely reply. I feel like I'm pretty good at replying to people in my comments, so I most likely will reply to you. And yeah, that's just about it. Everything I had for today's video. So I will see you guys in the next one.